After the age of 30, a woman's skin starts to change literally every day. And it's very important not to delay, but to start doing something before it turns into deep wrinkles on the face and very poor skin quality in 10 or 15 years, when the aging process is really in full swing and moving forward at full speed. Some people at 35 look 25, while others, on the contrary, already look 45 at 35. And it's not so much about genetics as it is about what exactly a woman does with her face, how well she understands the aging processes, and how she fights them. I'll show you the main mistakes that 9 out of 10 women make after the age of 30. I'll show you which essential products you really need to use to prevent aging. Because marketing in the cosmetics industry today is so enormous, it's such a huge business, that you could spend all your money and still, just by intuition, never come across the right cream, serum, or set of products or actives that will actually help you solve the problem that's causing your aging and affecting how your aging looks. Because women have different types of aging, as usual, I'm glancing at my notes and I've written down a little primer for myself. What skin aging actually is, so that you understand. Because when you understand what's deteriorating, you understand what needs to be fixed. Let's start with this. The aging process is very closely related to the skin matrix. What is the skin matrix? It's the extracellular matrix, as it's called, yes. It is a complex three-dimensional network of protein fibers consisting of collagen, elastin, and other molecules such as hyaluronic acid and so on, which fill the space between skin cells, bind them together, and provide the tissue with mechanical support, structural integrity, and the necessary environment for vital activity. Here you can see an image of what the matrix looks like. That is, this is young skin and aging skin. In fact, these are simply technical errors in the structure, which become more and more numerous over time. And that's why we start to get more withered skin, which doesn't regenerate the way it used to. So it's clear from the image now. And the key elements are collagen, elastin, and hyaluronic acid. What is collagen? Collagen is the main structural protein that gives the skin its strength and firmness. I'm deliberately leaving the image up so you can see it clearly. Elastin is the protein responsible for the skin's elasticity, its ability to stretch and return to its original state. That is things like jowls, sagging of the face, and so on. This is elastin, not an explanation of why this is supposed to happen to you no matter what, right? Moving on. Hyaluronic acid and similar molecules are molecules that retain moisture, which helps keep the skin hydrated and plump. Next. Proteoglycans and glycoproteins are complex molecules that are part of the extracellular matrix, that is, what is found between skin cells, and they perform many functions, including forming tissue structure and regulating cellular interactions. So it turns out that these are like the technical settings for skin regeneration, which need to function properly. Aging is simply a disruption of all the functions mentioned above. That is, collagen is produced less efficiently, and elastin is also produced less efficiently. So when collagen is produced less efficiently, the skin starts to form with defects in its deeper layers. When there isn't enough elastin, sagging begins, the eye sockets become sunken, the face starts to droop, and so on. A lack of hyaluronic acid leads to dry skin, thinning of the skin, the formation of wrinkles and all sorts of pigment spots, breakouts, age-related pigment spots, and other things associated with aging simply because there isn't enough moisture in the skin. And these very processes, which are built on the basis of these complex molecules in the intercellular space, essentially determine the structure, how the skin should regenerate. So what does the value of the extracellular matrix mainly affect, right? So it turns out that all of this, it's not even a liquid, it's more like this whole substance, the substance that is located between all the cells, connecting from the top layer of the skin to the very deepest one, right? The first and main thing it is responsible for is support and structure. The matrix serves as a framework that supports the cells and ensures the integrity of the skin tissue. Second, cellular interaction. It creates the environment necessary for linking cells and coordinating their functions. Regeneration and healing. The extracellular matrix plays an important role in wound healing and tissue regeneration processes. Basically, well, those who have severe breakouts, those who still have some teenage issues, even though you're already over 30, that counts too, right? The main mistakes in skincare after the age of 30. The first mistake is harsh cleansing. That is, all sorts of gels and foams from the mass market, the cheapest ones you can find in a regular store, they destroy the skin's protective barrier. Guys, this is no joke. Seriously. The skin's protective barrier, I'll show the definition of the skin's protective barrier here now. The point is, if the skin's protective barrier is compromised in any way, you lose moisture basically all over your face. That's how important it is. It's really that crucial. So when you're feeling lazy and God forbid you wash your face at night with hand cream because you just don't have the energy, you need to understand that you're destroying your skin's plumpness at that moment. Further, mistake number 2 is the lack of anti-aging serums after 30. That is, in general, I am like anti-aging. I will use it after 50 and so on and so forth. In general, this is a great stupidity due to the fact that a person does not understand what anti-aging is and what exactly it consists of. Because anti-aging is just some kind of marketing ploy. You need to figure out what exactly is in that jar, why it's considered anti-aging cosmetics, yes, which helps to maintain your skin or deal with certain age-related changes. But usually there's nothing to be afraid of. Either nothing works there if you bought something cheap and from the mass market, right? Or it's some kind of actual skincare that will work quite well after 30. After the age of 30, it's important to understand that you don't just need a label that says anti-aging, like girls often ask me, but it says anti-aging on it. You have no idea. Maybe it contains retinol that will make your skin peel, right? Or maybe there's nothing in it at all. It could just be very good hydration. Because when you start to see age-related changes, you need to keep your face well hydrated. In fact, after 30, if you really want a rejuvenating effect, the most important active ingredients you need are growth factors and peptides. Otherwise, your cells will renew themselves very sluggishly, and with each passing year, this renewal will become even slower. Because the key process of aging is that new cells are produced more and more slowly, and they don't have the right structure. They develop technical flaws like creases, wrinkles, and spots. So you might notice dryness or flaking in certain areas. If you pay attention, you'll see that the skin layer is constantly renewing itself, but that pigment spot, for example, stays on your cheek just as it was before. This means that pigment spots form in the deepest layer of the skin. And so, when we start to actively regenerate the skin, if we don't correct the structure and fix these defects, the spot won't go away. Do you understand? You can try to remove it as much as you want, but it keeps forming there. But when you work with peptides, growth factors, and truly rejuvenating cosmetics, they correct these systemic errors in the deepest layer of the skin. Well, hopefully, like the skin's construction code that was broken, you fix this code and now it works properly. All right. Mistake number 3. This is heavy-duty skincare. Many people start buying rich, heavy creams because they provide a quick effect. For example, if the skin is already over 50, 55, especially in older women, after 60 or 65, it becomes dry. We apply a rich, heavy cream, and it seems like the skin immediately looks much younger and healthier. But first of all, you're clogging your pores, and that doesn't rejuvenate your skin. So this is just an instant effect, the kind that's usually marketed to consumers. But in the long run, it doesn't work at all for rejuvenation, absolutely not. And most women judge the effectiveness of cosmetics by how it works after a week of use, or even after just one application. So now you understand that you're spending a huge amount of money on this marketing trick, where after just 2 uses you think, wow, my skin went from dry to moisturized. Yes, but in reality, nothing has actually changed. You were aging before and you'll keep on aging. That's all there is to it. It's like foundation, like the effect of foundation makeup. Your skin didn't actually get better. You just covered it up. And the most important thing for young women who are 28, 30, 32 years old is ignoring the eye area. Because the area around the eyes is very delicate. And if you don't protect it before you end up with a lot of crow's feet, and your upper eyelid becomes dry, thin, and droops over your eyes. So if you start protecting it and already use the right peptide-based skincare specifically for this area, before that happens, you'll be able to prolong your youth because it's the eyes that reveal aging. That's why you should never skimp on this or be afraid. Here, it's actually easier to choose the right skincare. Why are people afraid to touch the area around the eyes? Well, it's because when you don't know much about skincare, you just buy some brand. For example, if it's a cream with retinol and you suddenly apply it under your eyes, you'll most likely have serious problems. If, for example, it's some kind of skincare product with a lot of acids like AHAs or BHAs, these are very active acids. Some of them remove blackheads, white pimples, and exfoliate the skin very intensely. You can't apply such products to your eyelids. And when someone just buys a jar because it was recommended to them or because they saw a cool ad, there's always a risk that they'll swell up or get puffy. Or, for example, eye creams with caffeine, which actually don't suit most people at all simply because women just don't know. She buys creams with active caffeine, and most girls end up swelling so much that for a few days they look Asian because their whole face gets puffy, especially around the eyes. And this is a normal reaction for most people. This doesn't mean that you personally have some terrible allergy to cosmetics. No, it's just that this is a very large dose of caffeine for the problem you're trying to solve. This is for special cases. This is just an example of why you need to understand these things. So please subscribe to my channel and don't be lazy about watching the videos from time to time. After listening to information from different perspectives for 2 or 3 months, you'll develop some understanding anyway. What is skin made of? What causes skin aging? And what are the main modern products today that can slow down the aging process, right? To hold them back and even in some cases reverse them. Moving on. And most importantly, what I want to convey is the preventive approach to skincare around the age of 30. When you start doing this at a time when you basically don't have any noticeable age-related changes on your face yet. This will give you a head start of 25 to 30 years. That's a big difference compared to, say, starting at 50, when age-related changes are already clearly visible and you try to reverse them. That's possible too, but it will happen much more slowly. And this won't, for example, bring you to a state where your skin looks like it did at 25. Yes, you might look 10 years younger, and even if you get a facelift, it will look nice, but the quality of your skin, young, hydrated, well, you'll never get your skin back to what it was, the kind you could have preserved. So, I hope I made my point clear. These are consistent data. After the age of 25 to 30, depending on a woman's genetics, collagen production decreases by about 1% each year on average. And it might seem like just 1%, but that's enough considering that collagen can't stop being produced completely. It can't go down to zero, right? So if your collagen production is down by 30%, then you're already considered an old lady. In other words, you obviously have poor skin quality all over your body. The rate of cell renewal also starts to decline, roughly during the same period, but for the first 5 to 10 years after turning 30, it's not that noticeable yet. If you do nothing, then between the ages of 35 and 40, there will be a sharp change in your face. Your face will start to look tired, dull, and will begin to sag. Accordingly, preventing aging is a much more reasonable approach than waiting until you have obvious problems and then thinking, maybe I should look into this next. So what is the minimal basic routine that I recommend and personally use myself in order to restore as many of the skin's functions as possible, using the fewest products with maximum effectiveness, especially those functions that start to decline? First and foremost, the production of collagen and elastin, because these are the main structural components, to sufficiently moisturize the skin and not destroy the natural barrier that is present on the skin. In most cases, you don't need to repopulate it so much, but if you've really damaged it with soap or cheap cleansers, or for example, if you've been very aggressive with acid-based products, then most likely your outer barrier is destroyed. Because of this, dehydration occurs. Your skin becomes dry, you get all sorts of spots, breakouts, poor healing of various wounds on your face, and overall, your skin takes on a very dry, tired, and aged appearance. That's why when we talk about the skin barrier, cleansing is very important. Now I'll show you a cleanser that's made with peptides. Its greatest advantage is that it doesn't destroy, but rather supports and further replenishes this outer skin barrier, which creates a Photoshop effect and determines whether you'll need to use foundation or not. Just for the record, I'm 36 years old and right now I'm not wearing any foundation. Yes, in the video I put on lipstick, blush, and mascara because otherwise I just look like a pale moth. But I don't use foundation simply because there's no need. My skin is well moisturized, especially since as you age, you'll get wrinkles anyway, say at 45 or 50. If you put foundation on top, it gets into those lines and looks unattractive. So in this case, foundation and powder will only emphasize even the fine lines, even those that are kept in check with proper skincare. So if your skin is moisturized, even-toned, and free of dark spots, it's better to focus on just making it look hydrated without foundation, rather than trying to cover things up, because as you get older, covering up will only get harder and harder. Okay? One more time. This cleansing is based on peptides. Why is there such a big emphasis on cleansing? Because if you choose the wrong acid-based cleanser, first of all, it can ruin all the other products you use afterward. And secondly, it can destroy your skin's barrier layer, so all the active care products will just escape through your skin instantly. This cleanser is based on peptides. And I would like to briefly explain what a peptide is. These are small chains of amino acids from which collagen and elastin are built. So in other words, peptides directly repair what gets damaged in the skin, right? Simply put, peptides tell the skin how to assemble new collagen. For instance, let's say you have a tired worker who, for example, does everything without instructions. He'll work slowly, make mistakes, and the product he produces won't be very good. So peptides are like a fresh set of instructions and a kind of energizing shot for that worker, so he can quickly and properly build things again, following the instructions. That is, peptides work on the deeper layer of the skin, which will come to the surface in about 4 to 6 months. That's why most women, even if they try them, will expect results like from a rich cream that creates some quick effect after 2 or 3 uses, but doesn't actually work for rejuvenation at all. Peptides will give the first clearly noticeable effects in about 2 months, but these will be wow effects. It will be like a brand new face. I'm going to show my photo here again. I mean, I got a face that's better than when I was 25. I'm 36 now. In this photo you're seeing, I'm 24 or 23 years old. So basically, my skin structure wasn't that great to begin with. And it turns out that by consistently using peptide-based cosmetics, I fixed these technical flaws. Moving on. Next. The main product, the core of this skincare routine, is the EGF DNA serum. What is it? EGF is epidermal growth factor, a protein that acts like a construction manager. I specifically chose examples that would be as clear as possible for you. So it makes cells divide and renew themselves faster. Aging means cells renew more slowly, but what we're doing is making them renew at the same speed as they do in a young woman. After 30, the skin has little IGF. So IGF is the natural epidermal growth factor, and with each year, there is less and less of it. When we use the right serum with the right IGF molecules, we compensate for those age-related changes, and our skin stays youthful. Next. So this serum sends a signal from the outside, and it basically makes the skin renew itself faster. And even if you already have wrinkles, venous rings, crow's feet, or creases here, literally after 4 to 6 months in most cases, unless they were super deep or you're 70 years old, well, there's a high probability they will disappear. So please use it. The second thing that absolutely everyone should have in their skincare routine, and I'll definitely leave a link to these products below because, again, for the lazy ones, everyone wants to just buy, not bother, not figure things out, just use it and look younger. Well, I'll give you that opportunity. This is eye care, and it's also a peptide-based eye care product. This is the thinnest skin right here, with no fat layer underneath. So first of all, because it's thin, dark circles appear under the eyes because that bluish tint is kind of natural there. If the skin here becomes denser, the bluish tint disappears. That's an important point. That's why you can work with the skin itself and not inject fillers, because this isn't a very safe area for fillers for those who are considering it, right? It contains peptides and antioxidants. How does it work? This is the product for the area around the eyes. Peptides signal the skin to smooth out wrinkles, while antioxidants fight damage from the sun and stress. So, a simple way to think about it is like a Photoshop filter that you apply to your face, and literally, again, over the course of 4 to 6 months. Peptides don't work any sooner because peptides don't act on the upper layer, since that would be pointless. For example, let's say you use acids and exfoliate the top layer of your skin. Then 2 weeks after using acids, like after a peel, you think, oh, my skin looks so beautiful, it's glowing, it looks great. That was work done on the surface layer of the skin. From the perspective of long-term rejuvenation, this won't help you at all. It's like a nice cosmetic effect. If you want rejuvenation, you need to start understanding at what level and with which skincare products you should be working on your skin, okay? The most important thing is to have these key items, because even if you only use IGF and an eye cream based on peptides. By the way, I also apply IGF to my eyelids around the eyes, and in this area, because it doesn't cause any reaction, peptides don't cause any reaction at all. That's good news. That alone will be enough for you to see very significant structural and qualitative changes in your skin within 6 months. The only thing is you need to choose the right moisturizing cream for day and night. You need to be very careful with tonics and toners because peptides work effectively, but they can be neutralized by any active ingredient. That's why I always recommend buying everything from the same product line. Because when you buy from a single manufacturer, especially, for example, a company like Limax, which specializes exclusively in peptide cosmetics and is considered the Rolls-Royce of peptide cosmetics. That's exactly why I'm such a devotee and why I promote it, because it's the best peptide cosmetics I've ever used. It gave me the best results, and to this day I use only this brand because it works perfectly, absolutely perfectly. In other words, there are no longer any issues on my face that I feel a critical need to fix. But I'm absolutely not changing anything at this point because this skincare allows me to maintain the results I've achieved with it. So friends, subscribe to my channel, give it a like, it would make me really happy. That's it. Be sure to write in the comments about the age-related changes you've noticed in yourselves. Please write what you see, what you notice in the mirror that you don't like. I'll make a whole series of videos where I'll go over the most common things you don't like about your reflection and the silliest ideas associated with them. Why might a woman think she can't fix it? And I'll try to provide some comprehensive evidence-based information to truly boost your confidence that each and every one of you can genuinely achieve a remarkably new and improved face with today's advanced and highly effective at-home skincare methods and techniques. This is absolutely possible, friends. That's it. And please recommend me to your friends. I would